I'm currently looking for 2 players to play in my 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons campaign. I've been running the campaign since about October, and unfortunately 2 of the players had to drop out. One of my players got a job offer that is going to pay him a ridiculous sum of money, and he's being required to work during our playtime, so he had to drop out. Another one of my players, his living situation is changing, and he's no longer going to be able to play in the game because he's going to need to pick up some hours that are going to interfere with our playtime. So, bad news for them, good news for you, because now you might get to play in my game. Why, might you ask, would you want to play in my game? Well, let me tell you. The world I run the game in is 100% sandbox and 100% homebrewed. So there's no main quest. Every town, NPC, and even every monster is handcrafted by me. I've been running games in the same world for about 10 years, so there are many high-level NPCs and lords throughout the world who have their own motivations for you to come across and to come into conflict with. So there's nothing to do because there's no main quest. It's just a sandbox game where there are many things to do, and you decide which one is your main quest. If you like games where the DM has a storyline and he tells you a story and you're just along for the ride, this really isn't the game for you. This is a very player-driven game. The other thing I would say is if you actively engage with the world and create characters with backstories that compel your character to take action in a specific direction, this game might be for you because it's very character motivated. So, look, there's a scene in Peter Jackson's rendition of The Lord of the Rings, and Frodo and Gandalf are talking about Gollum, and Frodo looks down at the ground. They're in the mines of Moria, and he says, "I wish the ring had never come to me. I wish none of this had happened." To which Gandalf responds, "So do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide. All that we have to do is decide what to do with the time that is given to us. There are forces in this world aside from evil. Bilbo was meant to find the ring, in which case you also were meant to have it, and that is an encouraging thought." So, why do I bring this up? This is an important point for Frodo in the story. It's where he turns from a character who is passive and sort of just follows the group in The Lord of the Rings, and in many parts just gets in the way. He turns from that to a character who is driven, who engages more in combat than he had before when combat occurs. He is brave, he is brazen, he makes decisions, right? This talk with Gandalf fundamentally changes the role Frodo has in the Fellowship. And what I would like you to do is create a character where your Gandalf moment has already happened, right? You and your character, not you, your character, has a motive to do something in the world. And they're not just going to passively follow the party around and not bring up suggestions for what the party should be doing. Now, this being said, if that sounds good to you, I have some expectations for my players, and I'd like to go over them with you. My players do not miss sessions without giving appropriate notice. So if you're one of those players that puts a timestamp in Discord 10 minutes before the game is going to start, saying, "Oh guys, I can't make it today, I'm sick," like you call out of work, like right before you're supposed to go into work, right? If you're that kind of guy with your D&D games, I don't want you in my game. I'm going to kick you out, so don't even apply, okay? I'm only accepting people who are ages 21 and older into the group. We all have jobs. Some of us have families. And I would like all of us to respect each other's time. I don't want any sessions where, 2 people show up to a session and there's 3 people missing and we can't run the session because there aren't enough. I'm not going to deal with that. If you're going to miss sessions, I'm just going to get rid of you. And the reason that's good is because if you're not the kind of player that misses sessions, then expect that none of the other players are going to miss sessions except for on occasion if there's a family emergency or something. I'm not going to be a tyrant about it. If there's a true emergency and you give us a little bit of notice and you're like, hey guys, this thing just happened, I can't be there. Well, then you can't be there. It's okay. The second thing is my players need to speak good English. You need to be from the continental United States or Canada in order to play in this game. I don't want people from around the world in weird time zones that are playing in the game at 1 a.m. and they're prone to schedule conflict. I really don't want to deal with that. The players have to know the game to a certain extent. You don't have to have played for a year or anything like that, but if I ask you to make an attack roll or make a skill check, you should know what I'm talking about. Your microphone has to be a good one. If you have a microphone that's annoying to listen to, buy a new one and then apply for the game. Because if I get into an interview with you and I don't like what you sound like because your microphone's a piece of garbage and you sound like static, I'm not going to accept you into the game because I don't want to subject my players, who I've handpicked and who are really good players, really good players. Like you can be like, I'm good at D&D, right? No, they're good for me as a DM. I don't want to subject them to someone with a shitty mic for 4 hours every week. So my players play their characters in a way that's interesting to other players at the table as well. So if you are boring, or if you don't think you can play your character in character with a voice, don't apply. If I'm going to bring you into the group, I really want you to add to the group. And this holds true for all of my players. I want them to entertain you as much as you are going to entertain them. Because at the end of the day, we play D&D because we like the people we're playing D&D with. So, if you think you're the kind of person who can follow along with a plot and can bring things up that might be interesting to the group, that might give them an aha moment, or you can portray your character in a certain way that the other characters might find interesting. Doesn't have to be funny. You don't have to be a clown. That's not what I'm saying. Just interesting. Then, you're the kind of person that I want in the game. Now, I have to make some promises to you guys as players as well. I run a sandbox game. I'm not going to railroad you. I'm never going to tell the players they've made a bad decision. I don't even try to influence the players on what they make as decisions for what they're going to do in the campaign. The party decides what they want to do. The second promise is I'm not going to pull punches in combat. All of my monsters are homebrewed, so you don't know what you're going up against, right? Trolls in my world are not prone to fire. They still heal if they're hit with fire, right? So you can't assume anything about my monsters the way you might in an ordinary D&D game. Veteran players typically like this because one of the monotonies of D&D is, you like low-level play. Low-level play is pretty cool because you have limitations, right? But if you already know all the monsters that you're going to face and exactly what you need to do to kill them, well, perhaps it's not as exciting. So I homebrew all the monsters to make it exciting. I don't really balance combat encounters to the party. What I mean by that is you guys will always have an option of perhaps taking a contract that is balanced toward the party. But the possibility of death in my world is real, whereas in some other DM's campaigns, the promise of death is not real. in their campaign. So your character can do whatever they want. Like you're level 6 and you're like, we want to go kill a god. And the DM is going to make a balanced encounter for you killing a god at level 6. That's not how my game works. If you're going to go try and do something, you might need to scout it out. You might need to see if you can do it before you attempt to do it. Maybe the first thing you do isn't run in with your swords out, shouting like a barbarian. Unless you're a barbarian, in which case that is the first thing you should always do. So let's talk about the starting location a little bit. We are going to be starting in the largest city in my world. It's a giant seaside port with a city attached to it. The way I'm doing it is I have a couple of players, 3 players who are in the main group, and I'm going to continue running for them on Thursday, and then you are going to be in the secondary group that I'm going to run on Friday. I'm going to run about 4 or 5 sessions for you, and then once I've done that, I'm going to merge the groups, and you're all going to play on Thursday. So I'm going to put the times somewhere above this video so you can tell exactly. You're going to play it Fridays at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in the PM, 4 hours until 10 o'clock in the PM for 4 or 5 weeks, and then it's going to be those same hours on Thursday when you join the main group. Okay? So, hopefully, the 2 of you who I select will like each other, because you're going to be playing some sessions with each other. And, if you have any questions for me, feel free to shoot me a message. I won't respond to messages on Reddit. So if you're going to message me about this, please message me on Discord. I'm going to probably somewhere above or below this video, in the Reddit post, I'm going to put my Discord name so that you can contact me. And I hope I hear from you soon, because I need a player and you need a game. Let's make it happen.